Hey, I'm Cece Summers, and it is about to get real 80s in here. I thought this shirt was appropriate for the game, because, you know, bitches be trippin'. Okay, this is the beta for a slasher dating simulator, where you get to date all of your favorite 80s horror classics. And also the cursor is a knife. I love it. So without any further ado, let's go date some horrible, horrible monsters. 18 plus only, so if you're not 18, please get the fuck out. Choose your vessel. Alright. Let's go with this one. I don't remember which one is which. So I'm just gonna pick one. Yeah. Choose your slasher. Okay, so it seems like for the beta, the only one we've got is our Jason, which is fine. I'm fine with it. Let's do this. The afternoon sun was high, and despite the canopy of green overhead, it still beat down on me with that familiar summer heat. It would be enjoyable were I not dragging every bit of luggage to my name by hand on an ill-kempt dirt road. Admittedly, it was still gorgeous out, and I felt reassured as I reminded myself what lay at the end of this godforsaken trail. I had landed a position as a counselor in training at Camp Crystal Lake, doing most of their dirty work, cleaning up after kids, washing dishes, etc. It'll be fun, I'd tell myself. It was a chance to get out, see some nature. I'd spoken briefly with one of the owners of the camp when I called about the position, an older woman who said she owned the place and ran it with her son. I wondered how much of this land they actually owned. Seeing just how expansive it was, now that I was in the dead center of it all, I found it hard to believe they could afford the upkeep of such a large piece of land on summer camp profits alone, especially one this far down a dirt road. Wait, where is the road? Shit, where am I? Well, this is a little too much nature. Before I realized it, I made a couple of wrong steps off the beaten path straight into unfamiliar territory, a thicket so vast I could barely see the light of day. I tried to turn around to retrace my steps back to the path, but it's as if they'd vanished, blending in with the rest of this unnavigable forest. I'm pretty sure I still remember the direction I'm supposed to be headed, so I start walking again, now trudging through thick kudzu with my heavy bags in tow. What is kudzu? Kudzu? Okay, according to the Google machine, it is a quick-growing Eastern Asian climbing plant with reddish-purple flowers used as a fodder crop and for erosion control. It has become a pest in the southeastern U.S. Okay, well, now I don't feel bad about trampling them into oblivion. The more I walked, the woods just seemed to get deeper and deeper. It was almost eerie how quiet it was out here. Being immersed in nature is one thing, but it felt like I was the only living, breathing thing for miles. After a few minutes of treading along, my ears caught a sound, a thumping noise somewhere off in the distance. It was almost rhythmic, like chopping? I picked up the pace, high-stepping it towards the direction I thought I heard the sound coming from. I followed the sound as it got louder, and just in the distance I could make out a figure. I could just barely see them past the trees, but it was distinctly a person. I maneuvered past some downed logs and tree stumps and tried to get close enough to see them, and for them to see me. They seemed to have their back turned. Hello? The man perked up, turning to face me. I stood like a deer in headlights, taken aback by his appearance. He was massive, a lumbering form draped in heavy clothing that felt unnatural for this kind of heat. He donned an unsettling, tattered mask on his face and stared unnervingly through me with unseen eyes. He turned his body completely to look at me, looming over me like a shadow. That's when I saw it, the axe in his hand. There was a beat of silence. Then he moved towards me. In a panic, I dropped my bags and made a break for it. I ran blind deeper into the woods, putting as much distance between myself and that thing as I possibly could. That's not a very nice thing to say to your future boyfriend. Just as I began to feel safe, a thick root jutting out of the ground caught my foot and launched me into the dirt. Bitches be trippin'. It happens. The wind was completely knocked out of me, and I heaved as I attempted to sit up quicker than my body would allow. Before I could pick myself back up, there he was, somehow right behind me, looming over me like a bear. His chest rises and falls with a slow, deep breaths as he stares silently at me. My body feels like ice. I'm not even breathing anymore. The air is caught in my throat. I'm sure I'm going to die. The figure lurched forward, and I instinctively brought my hands up to shield myself from what was to come. But nothing came.
Look at these cute little pins! Ah!
Anxiously, I open my eyes to find that the man is now crouched down, offering me a hand. He isn't chopping me up with an axe or stringing me up by the neck. He's just trying to help me up.
He has a little recycle pin.
I take his hand cautiously, and before I can protest, he places another strong hand around my arm to support me as I stand. He must have seen how badly I ate it and assumed my leg might not feel great after such a wipeout. He brushes off my shoulders too, dusting off the dirt that coated my arms. Nothing felt broken, but I was definitely bruised from the fall. He brings his hands to his chest, beginning to sign. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. You dropped your bags."
Thanks, Jason.
I see now that he has my backpack slung over his shoulder and my suitcase sitting at his feet. He had time to follow me and grab my heavy-ass bags? Jesus. "Are you looking for the campgrounds?" I realized he was talking to me in ASL, so I began to sign back to him. "Yes, actually. Do you know where they are?" He nodded, picking up my suitcase and motioning me to follow him. Silence flowed between the man and I as I found myself staring at his back. His strides were long and well experienced with the terrain, while I still felt myself catch on uneven ground. I hurried my pace to match his, the quiet of the forest creeping back up my spine as my bruises began to ache dully. "So," I paused, hoping to break the awkward feeling building within my chest. "Do people often get lost, or am I a special case?" The man's head tilted in my direction, his eyes catching mine through the hollowed holes of his old, worn hockey mask as he shook his head no when he caught sight of my offered hand willing to take back my bags. What a gentleman, what a perfectly nice man he is. It happens. Luckily, you ran into me. Not so luckily, I also ran into the ground. I smile, ignoring the discomfort of my embarrassment as I push the conversation forward. It could be easy to lose yourself here. Intentionally, I mean. A low chuckle of response sounds from my woodsy savior, and I can't help but to brighten as a smile tugs against my cheeks. It's a sound I just couldn't help but to beam at. "Sorry again for scaring you." "Don't worry about it. It really isn't your fault."
Of course not. What's there to be scared about from this teddy bear of a man?
I mean, he is a giant masked, axe-wielding man alone in the middle of the woods. He's not exactly the most approachable figure. It was mostly the axe. What were you doing out there anyway? Chopping wood for our campers to carve later, for making fire as well. Well, that made sense. Seeing a man out in the woods with an axe? Think firewood, not maniac. I don't know if I agree with that advice. Always assume maniac first. Just in case. After a few minutes of correcting my poor navigation, we finally made it to the campgrounds. It's a bit surreal how different it is from the deep woods. The campgrounds are so full of life, kids playing and running around. From the center of the grounds, you can really get a good look at the lake. It really is beautiful out here. In this light, I can get a much better look at the man. He's still massive. Lighting didn't really change that. But he definitely doesn't look as menacing now. Of course not. Look at him. Just super fucking approachable. He sits my bags down and turns to look at me. Just because he doesn't look menacing doesn't mean he isn't still intimidating. "Are you one of the new counselors?" "Yes, I am." "Your cabin is back there. Feel free to get settled. We can start your training first thing tomorrow." Did he say training? "Do you work here?" He nodded. I mean, why else would he be chopping wood for children? Like, putting aside everything we know about the actual person. He says he's chopping wood for firewood and for the children to carve. Why wouldn't we assume he works there? "My name is Jason Voorhees." "No way." Oh, what an odd line of work for someone of his demeanor. Wait, is this the son Mrs. Voorhees mentioned on the phone? I felt an immediate hot wash of embarrassment. It's not a great first impression to run in fear from your new employer. I should introduce myself too. My name is... Cece. Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Cece. It's nice to meet you too, Cece. Aw, thanks. I can almost hear the warmth in his signed words, how genuinely happy he is to make conversation. It softens those edges a bit. A noise catches Jason's attention, pulling him away from the conversation. I have to get going. If you need anything, I'll be around. See you in the morning, Cece. You got it. With that, he's gone, wandering off somewhere across the campsite. I picked up my bags and headed toward my cabin, relieved that I was minutes away from a well-deserved nap. I trudged down the path, watching the cabin emerge from the cover of the trees. Counselors were hanging out around the cabin's porch, talking amongst themselves and getting their room assignments. Yo! A voice called out to me. Yeah, you. Come over here. I need to get you signed in. I turned to see a couple of counselors, a guy who looked a bit older than me, and a girl who was probably around the same age as me. Sorry, I didn't realize. My name's Cece. Yeah, name's Kevin. I'm in charge around here, so you come to me if you have any issues. Got it? Okay, Kevin. Okay. Kevin looks up and down his list before giving me a passive, unimpressed glance. Yep, you're on here all right. Fern, show Cece around the cabin, would you? The girl perked up and nodded. Sure, follow me, Cece. I'll show you to your room. All right, rogue. I gave Kevin a thank you nod, but he was already talking to the next counselor on his list. I followed Fern inside and was immediately welcomed by the cozy air of the traditional wood cabin. Fern led me to my room and gestured for me to head inside. Alrighty, make yourself at home and I'll be by to get you later for dinner. See you in a bit. We exchanged a wave as Fern hurried back out to greet the other incoming counselors. I sat my luggage down and made a beeline for the bed. Unpacking can wait. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I kicked off my shoes, only now realizing just how sore my feet were from the walk here. I fell back on the bed, climbing under the neatly made quilt. It wasn't long after my head hit the pillow that I was drifting off. The morning sun bathes Camp Crystal Lake in a pastel wash. I go about making coffee and some toast before what is sure to be a busy day. All the walking from yesterday had caught up with me. It was as if my legs were screaming at me to go back to bed. I would have to get used to it if I'm going to be doing stuff like this for the rest of the summer. I'm helping the other counselors set up in preparation for the campers today. My toast pops up from the toaster and I drag my feet to the kitchen table. I bite into my toast and sip my coffee, still feeling the early morning drunkenness. As I'm on my last bite of toast, there comes a knock at the screen door. I scarf it down and pad down the hallway, seeing a large silhouette at the door. I open it up to see Jason standing there, impossibly tall and muscular. His clothes are tight against his huge frame, and I can practically feel the power that radiates from him as his broad chest lightly follows his breath. Seeing Jason almost instantly puts a smile to my face. My screaming legs finally shut up from being blessed by his mere presence. Oh, wow. Hey, Jason, what brings you here? Good morning, Cece. I know you were going to join the other counselors in setting up today, but I could really use your help, if it's okay with you. The campers are going to arrive soon, so this place needs to be in working order. Think you're up for it? If you want, that is. I can tell Jason is a little shy. It's strange seeing such a huge and impressive man act like this, but honestly, I think it's adorable. I can't help but feel a wide grin grow on my face. Of course, that sounds great. Come on in, I'm just finishing up my morning routine. Jason follows me inside, ducking a bit to get under the door frame. I'm going to change. I'll be right back, just wait here. Jason nods and does what he's told. My heart pounds with excitement in my ears as I head upstairs to change out of my PJs and into my day clothes. He wants me to go with him? After I brush my teeth, splash my face with water, and take one last look in the mirror, I head downstairs back to him. Ready, Cece? Born ready. I smile and give him a nod, patting my hand on his broad shoulder. We head out the door together and walk side by side to the activities area. Our first job is to haul the kayaks to their proper racks. I watch in disbelief as Jason saunters by with 2 of them in tow. I'm struggling with 1. Cheater! I watch Jason's shoulders shake in laughter. He helps to drag the kayak I'm battling and lifts it to its appropriate slot. He is so incredible, he's barely even breaking a sweat. It's back-breaking work, but we're able to get it done in record time thanks to Jason's raw strength. Next, we set up the archery range. Jason and I prepare the lanes, set out the targets, and can out the supplies. I bundle them together, 3 arrows and 1 finger tab for each camper. Jason restrings each bow and tests them to make sure they're taut and firm. With this station, all that matters is safety. Make sure the kids, and the counselors for that matter, only point their bow downrange when it is their turn to fire. You wouldn't believe how many people almost put someone else's eye out because their mind wasn't on safety. I can imagine. Right, no accidents on my watch. I make sure each and every lane is clear of debris, and in no time we're finished up at the archery range. Next, we go to the woodcutting area. I watch in awe as Jason yanks a huge axe out of the stump, and in one deft motion, hefts it back over his shoulder before bringing it back down on the block of wood resting on the stump. The wood block snaps in 2. I stare as he repeats the process a few times before turning to me, chest heaving and sweat glistening on his skin. My face heats up at the holy sight. We are thirsty. We're down bad for this man. He pulls out a knife from his back pocket and begins chipping away at one of the split logs. He doesn't even need to look at what he's doing. Want to give it a try? Me? Jason chuckles and the sound is an absolute delight. God, Jason is he's so... Stop it, Cece, focus. Yes, you. Here, I have an extra carving knife. All right, here goes nothing. What should I make? A choice. Ooh, okay. We can make a bear, a mask, or a heart. And then we can give it to Jason and be like, here you go, be my boyfriend. Or we can make a mask and just be matching mask buddies. Also adorable. This one. I attempt to carve matching heart charms for Jason and I to wear and string them with some twine I had in my pocket. Oh my god! That's fucking adorable. Stop it. Oh wow, Cece, did you make this for me? I sure fucking did. Yep, and I made a second one. Look, we match. I gesture for Jason to bend down so I can clasp the necklace, and then my own. Jason stands turning the heart charm over and over in his hands. So what do you think? I can't help but giggle a bit at how Jason stumbles over signing his words, getting smaller and shy in his gestures. I love it. This is really special. I appreciate you for making it for me. Aw, of course. Anytime, Jason. I'm glad you like it. Maybe that will save me from getting a machete to the head. Well, you must be ready for a break now. It's so hot out here. Let's go stock up the freezers. That'll cool us down. I sincerely doubt that statement as I watch Jason lift his shirt to dab the sweat on his neck, exposing his muscular stomach. I follow Jason to the camp kitchen where we stock the camp's freezers and pantries with food, enjoying the cool air surrounding us. Yoo-hoo! Jason, Cece, would you mind helping me prepare dinner? Hello, Pamela. Of course, Mother. Absolutely. Happy to help, Mrs. Voorhees. The people that call their mom's mother is just absolutely fucking sinister. Like, okay, I know, it's Jason. It's Jason Voorhees. Of course it's sinister. It's sinister as shit. It's supposed to be, but like... Anybody that says mother instead of like mom or whatever, instantly suspicious. Please, dear, call me Pamela. We'll not be doing that. I guess we will be doing that. Jason and I help Pamela chop vegetables for salad and man the grills and ovens, which are lined with barbecued meats and aluminum-wrapped potatoes, respectively. My, Jason has you quite busy today. Oh yeah, but it's been great. I feel like I've learned a lot. You did great today. There shouldn't be much more to do here before the campers arrive. I love to hear it, my dears. You've taken the hard work off my hands. I'm so grateful. The dining hall fills with counselors, and Pamela lets us pick our food first. She stands on her tiptoes to whisper something in Jason's ear. He bends down to hear her. Their eyes flicker to me briefly, and I shift from one foot to the other. Jason waves to his mother as they part ways, and he rejoins me. What were you gossiping about? What's the chisme? I want to hear it. Do you want to eat with me? I actually have a question for you. Is it will I be your girlfriend / serial killer in crime? Because the answer is yes. Sure, I'd love to. We pile our plates high with hot food, and Jason leads us over to a log by the fire to eat. We eat together, and I can barely contain my excitement at being able to spend so much time with him. So I've been thinking, I know you were supposed to take a camping trip with the other counselors, but I was wondering if you wanted to go with me and the kids? If not, I understand. It's last minute and all. I screech in delight in my mind, but give Jason a gentle smile. Jason, it'd make me really happy to go with you. Really? That's great. My mother agreed to take your place with the other counselors. This means a lot to me. Aw, look at little Pamela playing matchmaker. I study his masked face, his eyes lit up and bright in the firelight. I can hardly contain my own excitement. He must really like spending time with me. Why have we not questioned the whole mask thing at this point? Like, nobody is questioning the mask. And like, the counselors see that he's here. He's very obviously a part of this camp. But this whole thing is just never addressed. What's going on with that? I'll come get you tomorrow morning and we'll head out. That sounds great. Looking forward to it. We finish eating and throw our paper plates into the garbage. Our eyes meet and I shuffle from one foot to the other. I'll walk you back to your cabin. The night air is sweet with honeysuckle as we trek back to our cabins. I love it here. You can see the stars so well. Where I'm from, you'd never get this kind of visibility. Yeah, me too. It's really beautiful. I notice Jason shove his hands into his coat pockets, and I swear I see the hint of a flush paint his neck in the sliver of moonlight. Well, here's my stop. Oh, yes. Well, thanks for helping out. I enjoyed spending time with you today. Aw. Anytime. Yeah, I did too. I start up the stairs and turn to wave to Jason. See you in the morning, Jason. Good night, Cece. Don't let the bed bugs bite. I smile and nod my head at him before closing the door and happily trotting to my bed. I stand next to the bed and fall backwards on top of it, letting out a sigh. I'm so lucky. I get to hang out with Jason again tomorrow. Thank you, Pamela, for covering for me. I grab the matching heart necklace I carved earlier and stare at it, feeling my face burn up. I can't believe I made something like this for the both of us. It's like something a couple would do. Maybe I was too forward with it. I don't think so. I think he's like, aw. I'm sure it's fine. After all, he did want to hang out with me again tomorrow, unless this is his way of getting me separated from the crowd so he can, like, take me out. Guess we'll see. My eyes grow heavier, to the point where I can barely keep them open. Jason and I did so much work today. I feel so exhausted. I search for the covers with my legs and pull them over myself. Before I knew it, I started to drift to sleep. It's now been a few days since I arrived at the camp, and they have been nothing short of tedious. Learning everything from preparing the finest, crustless peanut butter and jellies to being able to help perfect the ultimate tent pitching technique. It's somewhat of a thankless job, I've come to realize, but there are parts of it I've found quite rewarding. Wait, how was the camping trip? Was it good? What happened with that? Did anything happen with that? What came of that? Don't skip details, game. Though my initial encounter with the large, looming camp counselor was a shaky start, every moment since then has been one of genuine enjoyment. I find myself stealing glances and hidden, coy smiles when I watch him work alongside me. Before, I might have died of embarrassment any time his chest touched my back trying to adjust my hold on tools or equipment, or hid from sight when he had to put out a stove fire because I wasn't paying complete attention to the food. Of course, now that I've had plenty of time to allow him to be my teacher and show me the ropes, being a quick learner has only come to benefit me, and let me get a little closer to my new head counselor. There's something about him that gives me butterflies in the pit of my stomach, making my skin warm and my thoughts muddled. I mean, of course these things happen. Crushes like these happen all the time when people spend every minute of the day together, but I don't know why, but something feels different. Should I be feeling this way? Now that dinner's prepared, I should do something a little more productive than all this daydreaming. Maybe a shower would help. I don't want to smell like oil and chicken parm when I see Mr. Voorhees later. Ooh, Mr. Voorhees, huh? Not if I don't have to, anyways. My boots crunch against the gravel as I step out of the mess hall and take in the crisp summer breeze. The sky paints itself hues of pink, orange, and purple, and my mind steadily returns to my thoughts. I was caught off guard when he personally asked me, of all the counselors, to help him with tonight's bonfire, though admittedly I felt a swell of pride. It meant a lot that he felt he could trust me with setting things up and taking care of the kids, and even more so considering I'm the newest of the crew, and that I like to start fires when I'm cooking, so definitely the most responsible of the group. I imagine it might have had something to do with my ability to mesh with the kids, but I don't care. Whatever the reason, I'm not going to let him down. I find my way back to the counselor's cabin, gathering a change of clothes and a robe on one arm. I press my hand to the wooden stall out back and wait for the others to finish. The sound of giggling can only mean one thing, and I can't help but roll my eyes. Eventually, the duo in question would step out, sharing a knowing look with me before it was finally my time. I enjoyed the heat and steam and scrubbed off the smells of firewood and cooked bacon from my body. Ew, I would not want to use a shower after somebody did all of that in it. Like, god dang, like that was seconds after too. Like it wasn't like a while after. Like I didn't even get the chance to like forget that it happened. So I just stepped right into it. I tied my robe back on, letting out a satisfied sigh, and began to head back inside. I find my pants and throw on my favorite sweater. I pat at the big camp sign with a long sigh before heading on out, only making it a few steps down the stairs before slamming straight into something solid. Ooh, what the hell? I look up, rubbing my nose, and then I feel my face turn bright red. Of course I'd run right into Jason. That's what I get for not paying attention. I shrink a bit and roll my lips into a thin line. Mr. Voorhees, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I could tell. You're lucky you didn't trip. You could have sprained something.
'Cause bitches be trippin'.
I find myself mentally sighing. Now he was scolding me, and I didn't need him to speak to know what kind of tone he was adopting. I give a sheepish smile and sign back to him. Don't wish ill on me now. I have dinner all set up. I know you said you needed some help. I was surprised you didn't ask Fern or Kevin for help. They're better at the tents than I am. Jason's gaze stays lingering on me for a moment. He shifts, silently in thought, before returning his focus back. Fern is busy setting up the kayaks on the boat rack tonight. As for Kevin, Kevin's a douchebag and nobody wants to hang out with him. His hands still and blue eyes shift to the ground. This is a familiar face, and he makes it a lot where Kevin is concerned. Well, it is Kevin after all. Nobody likes Kevin. Well, you came to the right lady. Well, you came to the right counselor. The others wouldn't be able to focus with all that messing around they do all night, I've come to notice. Sounds like somebody's a little bit jealous. It's hard to stop the smile from forming at the corner of my lips, rubbing the side of my neck sheepishly. I'm grateful he's too preoccupied gathering all the sports equipment. It would have been instant death if he had seen the flush to my cheeks. My hands found my face, rubbing at the heat I had felt, before joining him as I walked towards the campsite area. On my way, Jason is quick to sort the equipment on its designated rack, clapping the dust off his hands in completion. So, lead the way. Is there anything in particular you want me to start with first? With ease, Jason collected all of the tent equipment in one arm, biceps flexing with impressive strength as he hoisted it to his shoulder. He notices my eyes lingering a second too long, but he doesn't bring attention to it, because he's a classy guy. He's a stand-up, classy guy. He hands me the box of snacks, all the trappings of s'mores and Vienna sausages, and cants his head to the side in a motion to follow after him. It's your choice. These are the larger tents since it's easier to keep the kids in groups. They've been complaining about noises. The easier I can see them, the better. If you want, feel free to start the bonfire now that it's sundown. Either that, or get the torches placed for the trail. After that, you can help with the tents if need be, and we can get food handed out after. I nod, huffing as I struggle to keep up with his long strides, especially with 50 pounds of food sitting on my hip. Once I arrive at the campsite, bare bones and ready to be set up, I know exactly where I'd like to start. We're gonna set up the trail torches. I feel like that makes sense, right? Do the trail torches first and then the big bonfire, so you can, watch the bonfire. I'll start setting up the trail torches then. I have a feeling the kids are going to want to spend all their time out tonight, and the weather is really nice. Jason nods in agreement, spreading out the tent supplies neatly. He jerks his head in the direction of the plastic container bin close to the scattered seating around the bonfire. All of the materials should be in the bin. There should be oil in there as well. If there isn't, there's some in the kitchen storage area. Without much preamble, I get to work, heading over to the bin and piling the torches into my arms. They're a lot heavier than I remember, but it likely has something to do with picking up 8 of them in one sitting. I feel myself stumble backwards a bit, and as I do, I feel the weight of my body tilt over, sneakers catching over shoelaces and gravel. An explosive gasp left my lips before that familiar feeling of strength took over.
Bitches be trippin'.
I had felt Jason's powerful arm pulling me taut to his chest, and when I looked up, clutching the torches tight to my chest, I saw the familiar sight of that hockey mask looking down at me, eyes full of concern. Maybe the torches might be too heavy. Do you want me to take over for you? Or maybe I just shouldn't carry 8 at once. Should we be forward? I don't feel like he's the kind of person that would appreciate this kind of frankness, but I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would. You can take me right now. His eyes behind his mask pierce right through me when he glances down at me. Unknowingly, I grin at him nervously, waiting for him to respond, but he doesn't say anything. I notice Jason goes to move his hand, which I assume he's about to sign back to me. Instead, I hear a weapon unsheathed from behind him and... I knew it. A sharp pain overcomes my body, and I feel a warm liquid oozing from my abdomen. He stabbed me. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. I felt it in my gut, and now I feel it in my gut. Jason slides the machete out of me, and my body goes limp onto the ground. A pool of blood bathes the soil beneath me, and I can feel myself growing weak and tired. I can't believe he did this. To be fair, I asked for it. Did I? You died. Okay, so we're not gonna be forward, because, we knew he wasn't going to like that. We knew this. I had to try it. So maybe we just be a little coy. We just be a little coy, a little flirtatious, like, oh my god. We should stop meeting like this. We should probably stop meeting like this. I should be okay, just took too much is all. There's something of a low chuckle that muffles behind the hockey mask, and it makes my body feel hot all over. With ease, Jason sets me back upright, adjusting the tiki torches in my arms properly before placing his hand at the small of my back in encouragement. I can't help but beam at him a bit, and he can't help but soften his gaze when I do, a gentle exchange of silent acknowledgement. He turns his attention to stomping the stakes in the ground, already partially done with the first tent, before turning to the side to sign to me. I'll leave the oil canister by the start of the trail. If you drop that, well, fried chicken counselor for dinner? Jason pauses, stupefied by my immediate quick wit, and he finds himself chuckling again. I'll say. He would flay me. I'm on a roll, I think to myself, heading back up the trail and enjoying the lingering feeling of eyes on my back. It was a short walk, and fortunately for me, the trail used the torches plenty, easily finding small holes in the ground to plant each torch firmly. It took a little doing. I'm thankful that since I started working here, my legs have gotten plenty of workout from hiking and climbing with the kids. Any torch that gave me pause, I was quick to wrap my leg around it to keep it in place, grunting until finally it fell successfully in place and remained upright firmly. There we go, and record time too. I'd like to see Kevin make these torches so straight. Kevin wouldn't, because Kevin's a douche. There's a moment where I feel my entire body freeze, however, and my posture straightens up quickly. Goosebumps riddle my skin, making the hair on my arms stand up, and instinctively I spin on my heels, gravel kicking up at the sudden movement. I wait, listening for any indication of unseen eyes, any sound, but none. That's what happens when you only have coffee and some granola for a meal. I think I should head back now. I turn my back to the long trail behind me, shuddering as I shake the last of the heebie-jeebies off, blissfully unaware of whatever was lurking in the dark just beyond the tree line. By the time I had returned to the camp, Jason made quick work of the tents. I paused to take in the impressive feat, impressed by the sheer speed of producing so many quality tents in such a short amount of time. It was Jason after all. Should I be so surprised? He doesn't notice me at first, but by the time he does, I've more than already circled back to his side. He flinches a bit, but I only smile in response. See, it's not nice to sneak up on people, is it? It looks great. I bet doing lights out checks will be a breeze tonight with how many sleeping bags fit in there. That's the plan. I can't believe you're done with the torches already. You really have improved quite a bit since you started. There it is, the swell of pride I've become so fond of. It feels like with every compliment on my completed tasks, I've come closer and closer to mastering the craft. Maybe I'd even reach his level one day. Still, if I had, maybe it wouldn't have been so enjoyable. After all, the learning process has been all the fun, all the memories I've come to have with him. My hands brush through my hair, smirking at the commentary of the head counselor. If I showed you all my secrets and my tricks, you might try to capitalize off them. Is that it? I didn't think you had such a poor opinion of me. And just like that, I felt my ego deflate, my smile gone and replaced with a horrified expression. He must have picked up on it and started to laugh. Laugh, deep and baritone, it washed over me, and I couldn't help but stare in confusion despite my insensitive comment. That was a joke. It's very obviously a joke. I fumbled with my signing a bit. I knew that. Anyways. I looked to the empty fire pit and let out a tired groan. Not exactly my favorite thing, if only because of the level of manual labor involved, but it had to be done regardless. I stretched my arms above my head and plant my hands at my hips confidently. Well, even if no one likes to, setting up the bonfire isn't going to happen on its own. Really? Why don't people like to? Well, not everyone is as strong as you when it comes to hefting up all that firewood. Even without seeing much of his face, I could read the confusion easily with his body language. There was a moment where he looked around, pausing in his work, before canting his head to the side in understanding. So, it must have been in respect to his strength. That made sense. I see. Shall we die again? Oh my god, I love your body. Wow. What's not to understand? Your body is amazing. Jason looks at me a little off guard and becomes stiff. Sorry, I didn't mean it to come off like that. Your body is an impressive sight. I begin to blush and feel a little awkward after making that comment. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. No, it's okay, thank you. Oh, I thought we were gonna get a machete for sure. No, it's okay. Thank you. Jason rides up his sleeves and begins to flex his arms at me, making my face heat up. I can't stop my hand from reaching out and touching his impressive muscles. As soon as I touch him, a strong force hits my face and knocks me down to the ground. It was his fist! Yep, there it is. Oh shit, my head. I look up at Jason, who quickly bends down to me. I can't read his emotions right now. I don't know if he got mad or... I start to see double and everything gets blurry. My head hurts so much. I lightly touch the side of my head and bring my hand in front of me. Is that blood? You died. Okay, well, we got that out of the way. So I feel like maybe complimenting his mom would be the right way to go. He likes his mom, right? I feel like he likes his mom. You were raised well, Jason. Your mother raised you incredibly well. At the mention of his mother, Jason's composure falls lax and he nods. There was no taking away from the swell of pride that came from being the man his mother wanted him to be, and it felt good to hear someone speak kindly of her. As his gaze settles on me, I feel eyes on my face, and instinctively the blush races across my cheeks. My mother has a tendency to get on the bad side of a lot of the counselors. She's an amazing woman. She deserves to be seen as much. I think so anyways. Gets on the bad side of counselors by, murdering them. But I mean, once you look past that, she's a wonderful woman. I nod in agreement, thinking of the few instances in which Mrs. Voorhees and I have interacted. She certainly had an icy sort of way to conversate, but I didn't find her awful. It was easy to see that she was simply protective of her son, like all mothers were, and well, the other counselors here, especially the girls, they weren't really subtle about the stares they gave her son when he was doing any form of manual labor around the camp. She actually likes you. The comment throws me off guard, and I feel the stupefied expression taking my expression over. His mother spoke about me? I know, it took me by surprise too, believe it or not. Not because it's you, just because she's slow to warm up to others. You do a lot more than the other counselors, though, I do admit that much. Oh, do we flirt? Or we're just like, we'll help your mom. Let's be a little, it's not pushing the envelope too much, but it's being just a little coy, a little flirtatious. But not enough to, be murdered. His form goes rigid, ducking his head as if to try and think of something witty to match my own, but to no avail. Instead, he scratches nervously at his collarbone, past the form-fitting polo, and I can't stifle the giggles that comes from my lips in response. You make it easier, socializing. I enjoy your company quite a bit. His words put a smile on my face, but then I remember if I need to set anything else up for the campers. Looks like everything's done. By the time the sun had set, all the kids had taken to their tents, sleeping bags in hand, and got to running around enjoying the activities of the night. I ducked back into the cafeteria to get the menu for the evening, something every child, and even adults like myself, would look forward to. Fried chicken drumsticks, 3 cheese mac and cheese, and a side of veggie fries. For dessert, Jason had opted to vote for apple slices, but there was no moving me when it came to s'mores. It took some doing, but the night had gone so well, it was like he was willing to go along with whatever I recommended. I shouldn't let it go to my head, but I don't know, I think I like him a lot more than I realized. I paused in my walking, exhaling softly and smiling to myself, clutching the trays before looking out to where Jason had been. A few of the children had gathered around him, watching with anticipation as he showed him the proper way to sharpen a stick for them to roast their marshmallows on. Even with full bellies, the moment dessert was mentioned, they were ready for more. It was adorable seeing him mesh so effortlessly with the kids, especially given his age and sometimes brash temperament. I head over, waiting until most of the kids were settled before breaking their concentration. Okay, yes, this is adorable, but look at this kid trying to eat my marshmallows off the stick. Fucking goblin. Drumroll? No drumroll, guys? I might have to eat these all on my own. Marshmallows, gimme, gimme. Can I have 2? 3? Please, Cece. I laughed a bit, feeling small hands tugging at my cargo shorts and pulling me off balance a bit. Once I gathered a crowd, I found my gaze traveling upward and locking eyes with the head counselor who was giving me such a look, so new and intense, I thought my heart would fly out of my throat. I swallowed, the tug of hands pulling me back to reality. I'll tell you what, the one who sits the most still and doesn't blink gets 3 marshmallows off the bat. Ready? It took little effort to corral them all, but once the marshmallows went onto the sticks and the kids all had their chocolate and graham crackers set up, I finally found time to sit down. An explosive, tired little raspberry blew past my lips as I had my 5 marshmallows lined up, ready for building when a shadow loomed overhead of me. My gaze looked upward, smirking as the head counselor took his seat beside me, eyeing my stick and its contents. I could sense the judgment. Goddamn, Jason, you literally murder people for having sex, but God forbid these children have marshmallows. I built the first, placed the stick between my thighs, and popped it in my mouth to sign him. What? Isn't 5 excessive? Never. It's hardly enough. You can't go camping without s'mores. It's practically illegal, you know. Jason rolled his eyes, building his own s'more and sliding it beneath his mask, patting the crumbs off his shirt. I didn't notice the way his eyes lingered on my marshmallow collective, only on the day's happenings and the kids conversing around the bonfire. He moved closer, scooping up the melting marshmallow and brushing his hand across the top of his knee and thigh. I choked on the s'more, pounding at my chest before swiveling my head to look at him, locking in another intense look once again, though this time he seemed perfectly aware of the effect his eyes had. It could have burned you, you know. Here. I looked at the paper plate he had offered me, but I was quick to return back to those crystal blue eyes of his. I chewed slower, blinking, before looking away shyly with a chuckle. Once I was rid of the dessert in my mouth, I transferred the marshmallows onto the plate, signing with my free hand. Thank you. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed these. Maybe since the last time I was at camp myself, actually. This is my first time, actually. What? There's no way. If you grew up here, you had to have the chance once or twice. Do you just not like them? There's a moment of silence the two of us share, and I feel my stomach knot because of it. He looks drawn to the bonfire, unmoved when a few of the kids take to running down the trail, my brows knit tight in concern. Jason? I wasn't exactly popular with the other kids. I was bullied often. It was easier to be by myself than be around other kids. Sometimes, around the other counselors, it still feels that way. Stupid, considering I'm a grown man now. Oh, well, I apologize. You didn't ask for a sob story. In an instant, I felt my heart sink like a ship. As I watch him now, the nonchalance in his admittance, I feel an urge rise up inside of me. I could chase it, I tell myself, or I can let him be. Maybe he didn't need to be smothered. I didn't want him to feel like I was pitying him, but what if? Okay, so I'm wondering, so linking your fingers together, does that mean like we link our own fingers together, or we link our fingers like... It's probably just like our own, like don't touch him. But we're gonna touch him and then he's probably gonna choke us to death. And then we'll go and do the other one. It takes a moment or two, but I follow my instinct to move a little closer, letting our thighs touch and letting my hand find the small of his back. There's hesitation at first. When I get closer to him, I can see him tense up, expecting something abrupt, but all that melts away when my hand finds his back. Fingertips fan out against him, and I eventually find purchase at the collar of his shirt, rubbing small circles there. Jason, I had no idea. I don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. It happened, and it's in the past, a long time ago in the past. If anything, it's taught me to stand up for myself. In a very unique and brutal way. I felt my jaw tighten at that and shake my head. It doesn't make it right or take away from how you felt, both then and now. You deserved better. Another long pause of silence and a look of disbelief, before then canting his head to the side curiously. You're probably the kindest person I have met. In a long time, really. Well, I don't know if that really makes me happy or really sad. Is it Kevin? You know I could put a couple of millipedes in his bunk if he's being a pain to you. I would fucking die if I go to draw my covers back to go to bed and there's millipedes. Like fucking... No. I would just crawl out of my skin. Absolutely not. There's a laugh that erupts from him, shaking his head and trying to control it, but to no avail. There's a genuine warmth to it, and it's infectious. There's a few awkward hiccups here and there, but eventually I find myself... Eventually I find himself once more. And gives me a good long once-over. Not so kind then. I roll my eyes and roll my hands in a show of theatrics, slicking my hair back a bit. It's Kevin. He brings out the evil Cece. Evil? Hardly. Though now I'm not sure how I feel going on a date with Cece's evil twin. Still, I enjoyed it. A date? Ooh. He said it was what? I feel myself get lightheaded almost immediately, stammering aloud before smiling wildly, the way one does when they're absolutely nervous as hell. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did anyways. Of course I did. Jason nodded, slipping his hand free from my own and planting both of them on the top of his knees. There's a look of relief in his eyes before playing off the nerves of admitting his scheme of isolating me on a date. He doesn't mind that the silence is a bit awkward. He's basking in the moment all the same of our shared enjoyment. I'm glad, Cece. I don't think I would have wanted to spend it with anyone else. My hands rolled into the palms quietly as the night had gone on, and all the while my eyes never once left Jason's form. I watched as he took to getting the kids tucked in, assuring them that whatever shadows that they had seen on the trails were their imagination before sending them off to bed, and picking up the toys and scattered marshmallow-covered sticks to deposit in the chipper. So it was. An actual date? He called it a date. Instinct had my hands slapping at my face, groaning when the familiarity of heat raced across my face. I drew my knees to my chest, huffing tiredly, as the entire day's activities were picked apart one by one, all circling back to him. Something inside me felt almost upset that this was a date, considering how deep in I was becoming. Surely a date would end in a kiss, wouldn't it? Oh, the mere thought sent my head spinning. I found myself ashamed. Jason wasn't someone that just ran ahead kissing and sleeping with whoever he wanted. That was for stupid, insensitive dipshits, like Kevin. Why is this so... Oh, a monster! The shriek almost sent me flying out of my skin, standing upright so fast I nearly felt all my weight topple over the other side of the log. I found stability, funnily enough, in the child who tossed themselves into my arm. Tears and snot soaked the pant legs on my khakis, and before I could get a word out, the child gripped in fear at my shirt, pulling me down in a frenzy. Cece, come quick, I saw it! It's by the lake! It almost ate my face off! You've gotta slow down, okay? Take a deep breath for me, okay? It took watching me to do it, but as I fell into a crouch and calmly held the child in place, breathing in deep for him to follow, he nodded in a pout and tried to stabilize his breathing. We repeated the process for a moment, and finally, after a couple of minutes, he was able to speak coherently past his hiccuping and nerves. Dawn and Mabel dared me to throw a rock at it in the woods. I didn't think there was a monster, but I heard it, and it even took all of our sleeping bags. But why aren't your sleeping bags in your tent, Marcus? We wanted to wake up to the flying fish, so we were going to sleep by the river. I nodded at the young boy. It might not have flown with Jason had he told him, but I could understand if anything. I rose to my feet and scooped the young boy into my arms carefully, turning to the woods with a big, heavy sigh. Jason was still gathering up the other children at the entrance of the campsite, so I'd have to handle this on my own for now. Determination took over, and with a firm nod, I looked up to the boy, sniffling and rubbing his snot across his pajama sleeves. All right, Marcus, you're gonna have to be brave for me, buddy. Can you tell me exactly where you and the girls saw the big monster? We have to get your sleeping bags back, okay? But what if... Hey, I won't let anything happen to you, okay? If you get scared, you run as fast as you can. I'll keep the monster distracted. I'm a camp counselor, so you know what that means. The boy shook his head, wearing his puppy dog eyes proudly. I smiled at him, wiping his tears with a curl of my finger to his cheek. I'm practically a superhero. Like Mr. Voorhees? Just like him. A superhero. Yeah, but he's a lot cooler. He has more muscles than you. Well, how about you just go fuck yourself then, Marcus? How about you just go and deal with the monster then, and I'm just gonna go away, because I'm not cool apparently. I felt myself deflate with a raspberry, pursing my lips indignantly. Kids really were cruel little assholes when they wanted to be, I thought to myself. I smiled regardless, shaking my head a bit at the small boy. Maybe, but I'm a lot faster. Also not true. So you with me, Marcus? The young boy gave a nod, and I returned it with one of my own. With the child in my arms, we both began to head down the path, looking side to side through the tenebrous dark, the pines forming a sea of trees that felt as if they had gone on for miles and miles. I felt a shudder run down my spine at the idea of actually finding something lurking around in the woods, especially after all of the stuff I had heard today, too. Jason had said he never found anything, but I found myself in disbelief even then. There was too much noise, too much rustling and displacement in the woods for there to have been nothing. We had been on the trail for some time, and after 15 minutes, give or take, we had heard it then, at the same time. The sound of something heavily breathing, snapping branches underfoot with the weight of its steps. On a knee jerk, I slapped my hand over the mouth of the young boy who was ready to scream, and threw us both behind the safety of a tree, sliding against it and falling in a crouch. And unfortunately, that's about all the time I have so far. I'm sorry. I was getting super into it. I wanted to keep playing, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what that monster was. And wait and see if eventually we do end up with Jason as our boyfriend, because it seems like he is adamant about, get the fuck away from me. So we'll see. Are we going to get kissed or are we going to get axe murdered? What a fun choice. Anyways, I hope you're enjoying your time here at Camp Crystal Lake, and I expect to see you bright and early in the morning, campers.
You'll be a stranger. It'll lead away your soul.